Hey guys, just a quick video to address some of the questions we see frequently on the forum concerning SketchUp models and how to save those back into Mozaik for use either as a display item or an item that you can assign parts to, that kind of thing. This is an example job that we've got going right now into the shop, and corner hood situation. Customer just had to have the style and look that they wanted. Obviously, easiest just to draw it in SketchUp, bring it in as a product. That's what I've done here. We'll end up assigning parts to this product in the product editor and cutting as much of this on the CNC as we possibly can. But that's an example of a SketchUp item. And if you didn't know that, appliances, dishwasher, all this stuff, faucet, all this is SketchUp models. That's all those are. Okay. So how do we create a product and bring it into Mozaik? So what we'll do is we'll close out of here and open up SketchUp. I've just drawn just a simple slant hood. Essentially, we're 30 wide, 30 tall, 21 deep. This could be an appliance. It could be a chair. Anything off the 3D warehouse. It could be something you've imported or bought from somebody that's in there. You can create your own detailed item, whatever it is. So the important thing is that the two main keys that you need to kind of remember is you always want your drawing to be the default color setting. You don't want to assign any textures in Mozaik or in SketchUp, because if you leave it the default setting, Mozaik will pick up your exterior textures depending on what type of product that you make this thing. If it's an appliance, you can use that as a subtype, and it'll actually give it the appliance color texture in Mozaik. So it's important to keep it the default color. And then the other thing that's important is we want this lower left corner to be at 0, 0, 0. Okay, so we can simply use our move tool and move that into position. Sometimes that's hard when you're importing things in from the warehouse, because they just kind of drop in wherever they feel like it, and they might be oriented weird, that kind of thing. So what we can do is use our axis tool over here and just simply teach Mozaik where that corner's at. So now that is done. And then the next important key is we need to save this back to Mozaik. What's important here is you can see I'm working in SketchUp Pro 17. I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there on what version of SketchUp models can be saved into Mozaik, but I'm here to tell you that it has to be 2016 or older for it to actually visually show up in Mozaik. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, we're going to Save As, and what we're going to do is, for me, I'm going to locate my OneDrive file. For you, you might be looking at your C drive trying to find your product library. Okay, I'm going to save this one in my WCW custom hoods area, and you're going to be looking for products. And then if you've got other products in there, you're going to see a whole list of them. You can see I've got a massive list of Stanisi hoods and things in here. We'll just give it a name, and this is where we're going to save it as a 16 model, and this is where you can choose from older versions, but a 16 will work just fine. Okay, so we're going to save that back to my product library, and I'm going to hit save. And then what we're going to do is we'll just minimize or close out of SketchUp, and we're going to go into our libraries and products, and we're going to find, well, I'm already there, so custom hoods. As you can see, what I just saved there is not showing up. I saved a test hood essentially. So I've got a number of sub-libraries in here, or subcategories or files. I'm going to add it to this one. I'm going to right-click on this and say Add Product. Okay. We're going to call this a test hood. It doesn't have to match the name that you named the file. So just know that. So you're going to say OK. First things first is you got to decide what it is that you're importing. This is a hood, so I want to treat this like a cabinet, because maybe I want to assign parts to it. So it is a cabinet. We're going to call it a wall cabinet, and it's a standard. Now, if this is just for visual purposes only, okay, you can call this an appliance, I believe, and change it to a decorative hood. This is going to eliminate the parts. You can see you lose all these tabs here. It just makes it simpler, I guess, to deal with. But for me, I prefer to bring them as cabinets. The other thing when you call it a decorative hood is it will bring in the exterior texture that you select in your job. I'll show that to you too. If appliance, if you do call it an appliance, any of these appliances here, it's actually going to grab the texture. If you got a stainless steel fridge or something like that, that's what's going to apply to this hood if I wanted it to be. Okay. So in this case, we're going to call this a wall cabinet. I'm going to go in and just remove my parts to build. And then under the info tab, oops, I apologize, we got to set our dimensions here. So we said that we were going to build a 30-inch hood, 30 wide, and 21 deep. You can set your stretching here. Mozaik will stretch these things around. If you want it to drop into the job that size, just turn off your stretching and you don't have to worry about it. Go to info. You can decide if you want this to be a numbered item or not, if you want it to be dimensioned, that kind of thing. This is another area you want to be careful with, or not be careful with, if you want it to come in a certain way. Obviously, it's a wall cabinet, so if it snaps to normal, it's going to snap to my wall cabinet bulkhead height, essentially soffit height. But obviously, you've got other choices here. If it's an appliance or something, you want it to land on the countertop or on the floor or whatever the case is, you can change all that. But I'm going to leave this at normal. And then this is where we're going to add our SketchUp model. So we're going to click this, and we're going to browse for that, and that's going to open up this folder. So we're going to look for test. And there's our test hood that we just did. We'll open this up. And there's our hood. It's just a simple, archaic hood. No big deal, okay? So I'm going to hit Save Changes. The other thing, too, obviously you can add pricing information, that kind of stuff here if you want to, but it's in there. So that's the hood. Now I have a product. So we can go to... I just got another room set up here to make this a little bit easier. So here's just a simple run of cabinets. This might be a stove obviously underneath here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change to my custom hoods library, come down, and we're going to see that my test hood is now in here. Now if I did everything right, this should snap right into position, and it should. And you'll see that when I display this hood, it is going to go ahead and show. Okay. Again, these items, if you're in that edit menu on this is where you can really, you can use SketchUp to kind of figure out your shapes and sizes. It can be parametric. You can do a bunch of different stuff on this thing, and add parts and apply parameters to this item if you want it to. They're just going to be non-visual parts essentially, so the SketchUp model is always going to be what shows there. Obviously, Nick and others have proven that you can actually create a model that looks like this with all purely native in Mozaik, but some items it makes the most sense just to simply draw them in SketchUp and bring them in. So that's just a simple example of a way that you can take something that you built and just drag it and create a product in Mozaik and then be able to use it on your jobs. So I hope this helps. I definitely encourage you to, especially if you're on Pro 22, I don't think 17 is supported by the 3D warehouse anymore, but definitely explore the 3D warehouse. There's a lot of hoods out there. There's appliance manufacturers that have entire libraries of appliances, Thermador and Wolf and Sub-Z. If you want, you could build out a whole library full of items that you could bring in to your jobs if you wanted things to be more specific. And there's a lot of guys out there on the 3D warehouse too that have spent time making these models that you can bring in, which is pretty slick. So hope this helps, and feel free to comment on the post if there's any further questions you have. Okay, thanks guys.